Merry Christmas. So just this past week I was running some errands, and when I went to check out at the cashier, we had some time to talk. And after she found out that I was a Catholic priest, she wanted to do the talking, or questioning. Isn't it a little crazy that priests can't get married? I said, well, in imitation of Jesus, who himself wasn't married, I don't think it's that unreasonable. And then she said, well, don't you think we'd have more priests if you allowed them to get married? I said, I don't know if you know this, not many people are getting married in general in church anyway, so I don't know if that would... She said, well, have you seen the Da Vinci Code? Like, I don't know. She said, it got me thinking about whether Jesus and Mary Magdalene had this, and I said, before I could even say, like, what a horribly confusing movie that was for the faithful, she just jumped in. She said, Father, there are just some things that I think need to be left a mystery, with a question mark on the end as opposed to a definitive period. And I just decided to grab my groceries and go. But I walked out just kind of puzzled and kind of thinking and kind of wondering, like, what happened there? What was that exchange all about? Because I guess on the surface I was thinking, thank God that she feels comfortable enough to ask a priest these questions. She can be honest and go there. But then I was thinking, I wonder what's deeper, what's underneath it, because while on the surface it looked like she was searching, underneath it sure seemed that she was more interested in telling as opposed to really searching. St. Augustine has this great line. He says, we love the truth whenever it enlightens us. We hate the truth when it accuses us. What does that mean? We love the truth when it enlightens us, when it affirms us, when it already reinforces our preconceived notions and intuitions, but whenever it accuses us, challenges us, forces us to change the way we think or are acting, we hate it. We hate it. I love that line, and I love this gospel too, this whole solemnity that we celebrate today. It's the Feast of the Epiphany, the manifestation of the Christ Messiah, Jesus, to all the nations. And I am just fascinated by the comparison of Herod and the Magi and their search for Jesus, their search for truth. I'm fascinated by Herod, right? He was a king. And on the surface, he appears to be really interested in this Christ child. Go, search diligently for this child, and then once you've found him, bring me word so that I too can do him homage. Sounds like a seeker, right? Someone who's seeking truth. But I think if we look deeper, we can find his motivation. Fear. This newborn Jewish king is a truth that accuses him. Because if Jesus is the true king, that means Herod isn't. If Jesus is the real king, that means that all of a sudden Herod's power, his control, his domination over others is threatened. And he hates it, even to the point of being willing to seek it and destroy it. When the truth enlightens us and infirms us, we love it. Whenever it accuses us, we hate it. The truth of the king that Israel was awaiting is found in our psalm today, Psalm 72. Listen to this. Listen to who the people were awaiting about the true king. It says, for he shall rescue the poor when he cries out, and the afflicted when he has no one to help him. He shall have pity for the lowly and the poor. The lives of the poor he shall save. Who wouldn't want this kind of king? This king that takes care of the widow, the orphan, and the poor. This is what a true king was in ancient Israel. Unlike today, where we have local police forces to help protect us, in ancient Israel, if you didn't have a large family to provide for you and protect you, say you were widowed, or you were poor, or you were an orphan, you had no one to protect you. You looked to the king to protect you, to come and keep you safe. That's the true king. So all of a sudden, Jesus comes as the true king, and like the light shining in the darkness, the truth of the true king shines on Herod, and all of a sudden, he's faced with the reality, you're no king. You're no king who looks after the poor, the widow, the orphan. You look after yourself. You look after what's in it for me, the power and the control and the popularity. That's no king. Therefore, he and all of Jerusalem is shaken to the core. So compare that to the Magi, who come seeking truth from a far-off land. Where are all those who are so close to Jesus? Right, the shepherds heard the word. They have been spreading the message, right? The people around should have heard this news, and yet it takes the Magi who come from a far-off land to pierce through the complacency of those who are so close to Jesus to let everyone know, no, here he is. This is the King. This is the Messiah we've been waiting for. Who are these Magi exactly? Well, because of their knowledge of stars, we can presume they're astrologers. Because of their title Magi, we can understand they're well-learned, they're philosophers, they're academics. They're also royalty. They're kings in their own right. But these men are seeking knowledge, they're seeking truth, and they're seeking a king. More interesting than who, I think, is why. Why did these Magi go and seek this king? Why, right? Because we know this. We can do all the research, we can do all the study, we can know all there is to know about the truth or about this person or about this event, and yet there's still something deeper that we need to drive us out of ourselves, out of our comfort zone, to go and to encounter this other person or event. Pope Benedict says they wouldn't have left unless they recognized the restlessness of their hearts. Right, that they were a people of hope fundamentally. And it was that they were a people on the lookout for the true star that drove them. This is it. When I compare the two, when I compare Herod and when I compare the Magi, it's this that's the deciding factor. They're both kings in their own right, but it's only the Magi, the three kings bringing gold, frankincense, and myrrh, who recognize, I need a true king. I need the King of Kings. It's only the Magi who have sought in the truth of their own hearts to recognize their restlessness. They realize that all the knowledge and power of the world does not bring fulfillment. In this way, the Magi are truly wise because they search for the truth that brings them to God. And then in true humility, they fall prostrate before the true King and offer him everything. On this feast of the Epiphany, inspired by the Magi, who go seeking for the truth, who go in humility and fall prostrate before the King of Kings, we're challenged. We're challenged, and I think the challenge is this. What kind of seekers of truth are we? How do we seek for truth? Do we seek for truth only such that it enlightens us? Only that it reaffirms what we already know and what we already think and what we're already doing. Most of us love that truth, but what do we do whenever we find a truth that afflicts us, challenges us? Do we keep it at an arm's length, like Herod, who stayed in his castle and said, no, you go, I'm going to hold the truth out here? What do we do whenever we're faced with the reality of maybe we're not who we should be? Maybe I'm not the priest I should be. Maybe I'm not the husband or the wife or the father or the mother or the coworker or the friend that I should be. What do I do with that truth? Do I seek to destroy it and take it out or ignore it or go the other way? Or do I in humility accept it as a reality that can bring me out of myself and to encounter the fullness of who God created me to be? How about in the church? Have you ever gone searching for what the church actually teaches about this reality or that reality, or maybe something controversial? And then all of a sudden you find out what the church teaches and, oh, nope, didn't want to read that anymore. Right? Because once we read it, once we find out about it, then all of a sudden we're responsible for it. What do we do at that point? Do we ignore it and maybe go and listen to the masses who are friends who also claim to be Catholic too, and they say, oh, no, don't worry about that. The church doesn't teach that anymore. Or are we open and humble enough to realize that no, the reality of a relationship with Jesus Christ calls us to be responsible for a lot of different issues that may be uncomfortable, that may call us out of ourselves, that may call us to be humble and to recognize I'm not a king. I need a true king. Blessed Mother Mary, help us. Help us to have the true humility that you had, to welcome the truth, to welcome your Son Jesus into your life, into your heart, to say, fiat, thy will be done. Amen.